Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to To Be Determined. Today we're going to be going over the 12-hour Ironman co-op that I started. It's been about a month ago now, and we just did it for 12 hours to see how far we could get, and I'm pretty sure we set the record for how many levels you can get on an Ironman co-op in 12 hours. Now, I'm not completely certain because, of course, we don't have like an official record of everybody who's done this challenge before, but I doubt many people have, and we did this almost right after the levels update came out. So odds are we've got the very top speed on this. Now, I know that we can do better. The question is, are we willing to attempt it? 12 hours is a long time and a lot of grinding, and ideally we would get to have the max amount of people on all at the same time, and you can pay gyms and do all that to get extra co-op slots, whatever. We didn't do that. We just had the maximum players on as often as we could, and there were some rules that we didn't know about with how many people you can have on a profile across the board, but we did the best with what we had. Let's jump into it and you'll get to see how far we got. Alright, so to start off, I want to give a big shout out to everybody that helped us out with this. There were some really big names that stuck out. The first one is Wyvern's Wraith. He got on like half an hour after we started, and he was on for the next 11 hours, which is a very long time. And I'm very grateful to him for helping us out with that. Another shout out to Zombie, who was there from the start. Why Zombie, my man, thank you so much. And we had Mad Ek, and we had Bez Nika, who was helping me out there at the end for the last couple hours. Very big help from him as well. Also shout out to Max T for helping us out and keeping us entertained for a bit. Now, we had a lot of people on this profile, so I can't shout out every single person, but you know who you are. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and break down how we did this. So originally we were going to try and go for a full 24 hours. That way there's like no way anybody was going to beat us, because nobody was even going to attempt it for a while, at least until this video came out. But we ended up stopping at 12. Now, the big reason for this is because there is actually a rule with Ironman co-ops and with co-ops in general, is that you can only have a certain amount of lifetime members. I think it's 16 or 18 total members can be on a co-op across the span of its existence, which wouldn't have been a problem. We could have gotten 16 people ready to take shifts across the 12 hours. I stayed on for the whole 12 hours, but I knew not everybody would be able to do that. So we could have had people take 4-hour shifts. But there is also another rule, which is when you kick somebody from the co-op, they can't rejoin for 48 hours. And that was the one that we didn't know. We knew there were lifetime members, but we didn't realize that once you kick somebody, they couldn't join for 48 hours. So what we were doing was we had 5 people besides myself ready to play with me at all times for the most part, at least for the first 8 hours or so. And we'd have the max amount of people on the co-op, and then if somebody wanted to go eat lunch, take a break for an hour or something, then we'd kick them and invite somebody else in and let them go until they couldn't, and then invite the first person back. Well, that was the plan. Turns out you can't do that. So we ended up running out of other people to play with, like to have the max amount of people on at around 8 hours, so that was kind of a pretty big issue, and I was really debating at stopping then, but we kept going. And then the last hour and a half, I think it was just me and Bez who were doing the profile, and so we kind of just ended up saying, all right, we're not going to be able to really set a good record for 24 hours if it just ends up being me alone on the profile, so we went ahead and called it quits at 12. Now, the main goal of this profile was to get as many levels as you possibly could for a single person, which was going to be me, because I was the only person to be able to be on for the full 12 hours. So I was going to be doing most of the progression throughout the game as far as skills go, slayers, all of that stuff, fairy souls, and I still didn't even get all the fairy souls. If I'd have gotten all the fairy souls, that would have 4 levels, but I didn't have my waypoint system wasn't working on Badlion, so we couldn't do that. But anyway, I was going to be focusing on most of the progression thing. Everybody else was going to be focusing on collection, crafted minions, things like that are expanded across the entire profile. No matter who does it, everyone is getting X. So the whole time that I'm out here killing revs to try and get to the next slayer level, we've got 4 other people who are out here grinding 4 different collections and getting me different experience across those collections. So the goal for the whole 24 hours was I was going to try and get to at least 40 levels if I could. 50 was the main goal, but 40 was a reasonable place to stop at if we got to the whole 24. But since we stopped halfway around the time that I decided we were going to stop halfway, I wanted to go for 24 levels, which I felt was pretty reasonable. 2 levels an hour, still pretty good, especially considering we were playing non-stop. Minions were basically useless. You just kind of put them down to generate an extra 1,000 coins per hour or something. It really wasn't going to be any good for us at all. Plus, we were kind of stunted considering that everyone else was going to be grinding collection and not combat for the most part. So I was really going to be the only person who was going to be able to go into dungeons. And another rule was I couldn't get carried by somebody outside of the co-op. If we were going to do dungeons or slayers or something like that, it had to be with only people from the co-op helping out. And since everybody else wasn't really grinding combat, they couldn't really help me with that. So I was pretty much left on my own. Now, we did push quite a few people to get into the Dwarven Mines so that they could grind out the mining collections a lot easier. The ores in the Dwarven Mines are so much better for grinding collections. So we did push that a lot. And that was one of the problems that we had with efficiency, was I was ending up grinding out all of the lapis lazuli for everybody else to get into the Dwarven Mines since I had gotten in there first. And so that was kind of a waste of time for me, and it probably would have been better as far as the levels go for them to just grind it out themselves, or to get one person in and that person grind it out for the rest of them. But it went how it went, and this was really a major experiment because we didn't know how this was going to go. We didn't know what was going to be a major time sink and what skips we could do, especially considering I never played an Iron Mid before. I had no idea what I was getting into. But the big thing was getting our skill average up, is what I focused on mainly, and trying to get as many unique Slayer kills as I could on an Iron. Now, aside from skill grinding, I also wanted to get in as many quests as I could, because you get a decent amount of XP from doing quests, and also from museums. So if everybody else was getting their collections up and had all the items for a specific item that was going to go in the museum, I could just permanently borrow from them and put it in the museum myself, get the XP myself, and push us on further in the level. One of the big things that we did push for early, like I said, was Dwarven Mines, but the fastest way to get into the Dwarven Mines was to actually grind out sand. I'm sure most of you, if you've done bingo or seen anybody else do bingo, know the strategy. You just get a golden shovel with efficiency 5, and you kind of just run around in a circle looking down and holding left click, and that is actually the fastest way to get your mining XP up to level 12, and then you can start going into the Dwarven Mines, getting it up faster that way. Now, definitely the biggest issue that we had was swapping people out, because swap one person out and then the next person would say they're ready and then they're not ready, and we were very unorganized on that front, which is my bad. If I ever do this again, then I'm going to make sure that everybody who's in the co-op can be there the full 12 hours if possible. If I can find enough people to do it, then that is how we're gonna run it, and I'll have a game plan step by step, you know, the whole 9 yards. But that's not what we did this time. This time it was kind of just wing it, see how it goes. It'd be more fun for the content and more fun for us. Anyways, about 1 hour in, I had already pushed through farming, got into mushroom gear, so I was really healthy and able to handle a lot of the mobs, and I started mining to get into the Dwarven Mines area. I did end up doing a lot of bestiary as well. Bestiary was another part of it that is very easy, at least start, to get up to around level 6 or level 8. So we did push for that as much as we could. Plus, I started doing as much enchanting as I could. I think we did end up getting to the experimentation table, which was a really big deal. That's gonna like instantly punch you up like a good 5 levels just from doing the experimentation table once. So we were focused on that for the first few hours, was grinding bestiary, combat, mining, all of that stuff, getting good gear so that we could at least set ourselves up. So after the first 2 hours, we were at level 5.5. Half of that was from the collections that everybody else was grinding. The other half was from me getting bestiary, combat, and all these other skills that we got up. I did have to do a little bit of foraging, but it is what it is. And it was at that point that I finally got into the Dwarven Mines. After about an hour and 45 minutes, we had gotten into the Dwarven Mines. So that was not the best pace, honestly, but considering all the other things that we were focusing on as we went through, it wasn't too bad. Because we also had to focus on talismans, getting as many pets as we could, all of that stuff, plus trying to get at least every single mob up to bestiary level 3, so 75 kills. And every time we did that, that was going to give us only 3 XP per mob, but it really only took us about 5 minutes per mob as well, so why not? Now, the other thing that we were running into trouble with was not being able to auto pick up things. It took us forever to unlock auto pickup, but we finally got it after about 2 hours and 15 minutes. We got all the collections and everything to get up to that. At this point, we're also farming level 8, so that was another bonus. Had a little bit of extra health from that, getting our skyblock levels up. And about 20 minutes later, we were all the way up to level 7.5, and if you haven't guessed why, it's because of Melody's hair. We had gotten it up to the very last song, and then I quit for a little bit because it was driving me crazy. It was at this point that I decided that it was also going to be a good use of my time to spend some time on getting minions leveled up and crafted and everything. If I could get the base ones crafted and I could get everyone else to run around to NPCs or to go get the collection themselves, then that was going to be a really good way to start getting things going, so I could help manage everything that we were focusing on a little bit better. Now, the next couple hours after that, we basically spent a lot of time working on commissions, working on getting our skills up, doing little quests around all of that stuff, the different races across the island. And we finally got to Heart of the Mountain Tier 2, which gave us Skyblock level 11. Now at this point, we're a whole 4 hours in, a third of the way through the run, and we're at level 11, which is almost 3 times the amount of hours that we are in. So we're almost averaging 3 levels per hour, which really isn't a terrible pace, but considering how early on it is in the run, it really should have been a lot better if we had planned this out. Anyways, it was all good. We were enjoying ourselves, and we were on a decent pace for the first ever run. Now, the other thing was we were also going to need a decent amount of money just so that we could afford to get into A, the Crystal Hollows, B, buy a Raiders Axe, and C, spend enough money on Slayers to get a decent amount of XP. Now, we also could have done dungeons for number 4, but that really was a very unrealistic goal that was probably not going to happen, especially on the first run. Now, you do get a ridiculous amount of XP from dungeons just for doing like 3 runs. You can get class XP, you can get catacombs XP, bestiary milestones, all of that stuff, which would have been insanely good for us, but the odds of us actually getting strong enough to handle those mobs was very slim, especially considering we were on an Iron Man. Now, a couple hours went by where I was doing some more mining, and I decided to actually grind out some glacier sites so I could get some good kata XP or combat XP and have a decent chance at getting some better gear. Plus, hopefully, I would be able to afford a void sword by this point if everyone had gathered enough money, because this was a month ago. The end update was out, the Arachne update was not yet out, so the end was where we were going to focus a lot of our time. Now, if we were to do the speedrun again, then money would not be an issue at all. We would just have a ton of money from people spawning in the high level Arachnes and us just getting a decent placement, selling the soul string, and going on with our day. But that wasn't a strategy yet, so we really didn't have a ton of ways to make money, especially considering everyone was focused on XP tasks instead of money tasks. Anyways, 6 hours in, we finally unlocked the end island, and that was when I realized something. I hadn't even gone to the thaumaturgist to talk about magical power yet, so I had been doing so much less damage than I could have been. Thankfully, I realized it 6 hours in instead of 8, but we changed that. At this point, we were at almost level 14. 6 hours in, we still had double the levels than the hours that we had put in, so I was still okay with that. As long as we stayed above 2 times the hours, I was going to be fine. So now that we had finally made it to the end, we unlocked a lot of collections, finally got the Endstone collection, Ender Pearls, Obsidian, which actually we already should have had Obsidian, but Obsidian was easy to do now. And we unlocked the Lone Adventurer quest, which gives a little bit of XP, but really more importantly, we unlock access to the Dragon's Nest, which every unique dragon that we hit once before it dies, we get 25 XP. So that was going to be a big deal. Anyways, after we got done with grinding that out a little bit, we couldn't find a lobby where people were spawning enough drags. We decided to go do some more commissions, and that was when we hit Skyblock level 14. Now, another shout out to Drunter, who also helped us out a lot. He was doing a lot of the XP grinds and the collection grinds. Anyways, the last 6 hours where things started to fall off a lot. There was no way we were going to get to the Crimson Isle and unlock all of the other things that we wanted to, and we didn't have the max amount of people in the co-op from this point on, so progress slowed down a ton. However, we were saved by doing a bunch of Slayers, getting as many uniques as we could, and getting the first 3 Slayers up to level 3, plus killing some unique dragons, which helped out a lot. One thing that did hinder us was we never got around to getting enough eggs to craft our own pet. That would have given us a ton of XP if we could have gotten enchanted egg and a chicken minion, which we could have done, but I didn't set anybody to do it because I didn't think about it. So next time, if we do this again, then we're gonna have somebody on it. The rest of the time, other than doing the Slayers and killing dragons and things, I was grinding out bestiary for minimal levels. Really shouldn't have, but that's what I was doing. Grinding out different collections myself because I was one of the only people online. Killing the unique Arachnes also gave us a bit of XP, finally finishing the Melody's Hair quest. Plus we did run around and get a couple of the fairy souls. We didn't get all of them. We got about 100 and some, I think, so that gave us about 2 levels from doing that. But basically, what I'm trying to tell you is the last 6 hours of footage corrupted and I can't show it to you. Anyways, if we go onto the server and we take a look, we can look at my Blueberry profile right here, which is 27 days and 11 hours old. We can switch to it and see we got, oh my goodness, so many things. Okay, well anyways, we are a collection level, or we are skyblock level 24. We're almost got to 25, which would have been cool, but we didn't quite get there. We are not very high on the global ranking, but this is the valuable time people spent during our speed run. We did spend a long time trying to get the bat talisman because there was a spooky festival going on, and that didn't work out. They did build a sugarcane farm for us as well. I don't think we can do slash playtime. Yeah, we don't have enough playtime. I wish we could see that it's only been 12 hours on this profile. But yeah, it was a 12-hour profile. We got 2 levels per hour is what we averaged. We ended up at 24 levels. And if we scroll up, you can see 24 and 3/4 levels. All our minions are very, very full. We have multiple Jerrys here too, but anyways, this was our profile. We tried to do some in-game stuff that we definitely shouldn't have, and we can definitely do a better run. But if you guys want to try, you can definitely do better, I'm sure. Anyways, as far as I'm aware, that is the most levels anyone has ever gotten on an Iron Man co-op in 24 hours. Hope you guys did enjoy today's video. If you did, remember to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, tomorrow we have a song finally dropping. I've been working on this song for like 3 months or something now, so it's been a long time in the works and it's not done yet, but the instrumental version is. So if you guys want to check that out, you can either pre-save it if it's not out yet in the description below, and if it is out, then we have a visualizer coming up right here, and that is going to be premiering at midnight tonight. I hope you guys like it. I hope you have a great rest of your night. God bless.